right, good evening. Today is Tuesday, March 17th. Happy St. Patrick's Day. This is a meeting of the Acushnet Board of Selectmen. Is there a motion to call the meeting to order?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. As a reminder, this meeting will be audio and video recorded. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gentlemen, as I mentioned, I do need a moment of personal privilege to recess the meeting briefly. Unfortunately, I have a personal work phone call that I have to do, mandatory call on my end, but we do have a couple minutes. If we want to look at the golf new hires, I know Mr. Tibble's here in the audience. Steve's put forward a number of names: youth employment, seasonal employment, to help do some work at the...
Yeah, we have usually every 2, maybe 3 years, depending on the age of the students. These are high school, college students. We have a turnover. And this year, all of the kids who came on board 2 years ago are seniors and graduating. Some are going off to college. Others are going off to trades. So we have those positions to fill. And I think you have the list of individuals. Normally, I would supply a resume for each individual, but times have changed, I guess, because for the majority of these individuals, with the exception of one who had did some small landscaping and another who had worked in a restaurant, this is all their first, significant job of any duration in time. So
I know a lot of these kids, all athletes, so I think a lot of their time has been spent playing sports.
Being
So
athletes,
this is a good opportunity for them to get some work under their belts. Gentlemen, is there a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, can I just ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Steve, I know you alluded to it, but it's a question I always ask. Are all these positions, current positions, funded in last year's budget?
yes. These are all individuals who were replaced. There's one position that could be considered new.
So the head count is the same as what
The
you
head
said?
count's the same, yeah.
The head count's the same, so it's all previously funded in last year's budget?
Yes.
Okay. And these are on your side of what we call your side of the house, the other side of the house? This is all in?
These are all maintenance employees.
Okay.
Basically, you guys probably are aware of it, but our crew is basically 55 and above and 18 below. There's nothing in the middle. and 3/4 of the 55 and above are all retired. So,
Motion to appoint as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Great. Thank you.
Thank
you.
Thanks,
All right, I
Steve.
think we can knock one other thing out, a couple other things. Jamie Velasquez has gone through the appropriate training to be our procurement officer, or to serve in that capacity, and I don't know if when Mr. Lamontagne comes in eventually, I think that's something you want him to do as well, but we should have multiple layers on the procurement stuff. So there'd be a motion to appoint Jamie Velasquez as the procurement officer.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yeah.
I actually don't like that idea.
Oh, okay.
It's
Of
nothing
Jamie or?
of the procurement officer not being in the town administrator seat.
Okay,
Nothing to do with the personnel.
all right.
We currently have Jamie in capacity.
No,
No.
that's the problem.
That's the problem?
Yeah.
Well, we don't have to worry about procurement officers until the
We
bids
ju-
come back, correct? Because we have one starting in 2 weeks. That's my only concern. The other concern I had when I was diving into it was just to make sure the state actually doesn't like the accountant's office involved in the procurement process unless it's just as a backstop. So I would just be a little concerned because of the current position that she's in.
Could I suggest that appointment until the new town administrator comes in?
Okay, so we had an
Do
interim.
we have anything coming in on bids in the next 2 weeks?
You might have something coming from the state or something that needs a procurement, and my MCPPO has elapsed.
So I did do a little research on this as well. Basically, the breakdown says conflict of interest, separation of duties. Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Section 55 states that the town accountant or that office shall hold no other town office which involves a receipt and disbursement of monies with the sole exception of a town clerk. The roles, a procurement officer authorizes purchases, disbursement of funds, while the town accountant audits those expenses, and they ensure that they are lawful before payment. Allowing one person to do both creates a conflict of interest in financial oversight. So I think it's a great backstop that somebody in accounting is certified as a procurement officer. Absolutely, 100%. I would never, I know she's going through certification. She is not technically certified, I don't believe.
It's 3 levels.
So it's 3 levels, but I have no problem with the certification.
Okay.
Just having her in that role, I
So,
think it's a conflict of interest.
motion to table.
So,
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. Gentlemen, could I have a motion to recess?
so moved.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, is there a motion to reconvene the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We're back in session. Thank you again for allowing me to do that. All right, so we did that. First item we've got, I'm just gonna jump out of order. Sorry about that, gentlemen, but we've got some folks here. We're in a little bit of a time crunch. At a couple meetings ago, back in February, we discussed the need of a stormwater agent. Since then, we've had some issues that have popped up, and it's clearly a gap and a need. And we're working through some of the some of those issues, and unfortunately, it's just put a strain on staff and people in that office. And so, Conservation Chair met with Mr. Kelly, and Conservation Commission has asked or voted to recommend to the board that we appoint a stormwater agent. We discussed it, so it's on the agenda. Some thoughts on that?
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
going, as you alluded to, the back and forth kind of thing, and I know we talked about the 6-month probation, but I had a conversation with Mr. Kelly after the last meeting, and I said it's pretty easy for us to solve this dilemma that we have with stormwater, and he said, how's that? And I said, you do the same thing that we just did for this conservation agent. Give a 6-month probationary period and name her the stormwater, Julia Goncalves, the stormwater agent, and put this to bed. So,
Perfect. All right.
I'm more than happy, if the board's, at the board's pleasure, I'm more than happy to appoint Julia Goncalves as the stormwater agent.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Great. Julia, while you're here, I haven't had a chance to talk to you since you've been conservation agent, but when we first met and we did those interviews, you're doing a great job. The fact that I haven't had to talk to you means you're doing a great job, right? So keep up the great work.
Thank you, I appreciate
And
that.
thanks, Jim, for your guidance and your advocacy. One other thing while we got here, we'll jump on real quick. Have it on the agenda is Lake Street. There's a lot going on that Jim has jumped on board with the Conservation Commission, and we do have a Lake Street committee. And talking with Scott Daggett, it's the participation. I think we just got to take a look at it and maybe refresh it and come up with a maybe just a new look at it. And I'm going to be departing in a month, and so I'd appreciate if somebody from the board here would take that on as a pet project. But Jim, I know you've got just a quick update on what you guys are up to there.
Yeah, so right now, Julia's working hard with this too. We got New Bedford involved. We got Scott Daggett still very much involved with it. We're trying to go for this grant. We got, how many more days? Like 4 days or?
Friday, it's due.
Friday. We're going to be putting in this grant. I know that it was, Scott mentioned to me that they wanted to do away with the committee, just not enough people involved. I think that's a very bad idea. I think we just have to kind of restructure, keep it a committee. Anyone who's not willing to participate, hey, fine, don't be on the committee anymore. I think we just have to try to really make it a good, strong structure. The other thing with Lake Street, just so you guys know, we are looking further down the road to do a community group. So in other words, get Lakeville, Freetown, New Bedford, Dartmouth, get us all with the same thing, with this trying to clean up lakes and ponds and everything else. With that being said, I think we could do so much better with grants if we go to the state and say, hey, listen, we're 5 communities that are looking to do all the same thing. And instead of all of us fighting for the same thing, if we get together and we become a team, I think we're going to be stronger. We're not going to do that at this first grant, but it is something we're going to be looking down the road. And with that being said, I'd like to talk to Scott and maybe get a committee meeting going and see what people feel, get everyone there, whoever don't show up, and start restructuring this. I know, Mr. Hank, if you don't mind, I would be kind of looking for maybe some of your input on how we want to structure this, because I don't want it to be a voting board, because I don't want to deal with Mullen rules. I think that anyone that we're dealing with should be able to go to the lakes and let's discuss what's going on without so much, make it kind of easy. And then the other thing I mentioned to Mr. Wona was that also we don't want conservation to ever take this over, because if we ever go for another NOI, we can't have the Conservation Commission bringing up the NOI. So with that being said, I think that we can really start structuring and make this a strong thing among communities and fight for the same thing.
So I guess the question is, if we don't want it to be a voting commit, right? So Pam, help us out with this. I mean, we want it to be an advisory, or just, I don't know how we would do that.
So I know the committee that's there now does not vote. They do not have a chairman, they do not have a vice chairman, they don't have nothing in regards to that. When I went to one of the meetings, Pam, it's just everyone telling their ideas. There is really like no structure, right?
Okay, so the issue comes in where it's an appointed board by the selectmen and there is deliberation. So you're sharing all of your ideas. You can do that, but once you start deliberating, agreeing with this one, agreeing with that one, it's a very slippery slope. So you could do an advisory, but you still have to abide by the open meeting law.
Okay, so if we take and I'm just asking if we take and do set this up a new committee, right?
Yeah.
Then we bring forth letters to the selectmen saying we're interested in getting on the committee, and then we appoint a chairman, vice chairman, and go that route. Would that be the easiest way to hold it better so we don't get in trouble?
Well, how has the board,
We haven't dissolved it. We
that's-
still have the Lake Street Committee, right?
Yep.
So it's just put out a call to action to see who wants to continue to serve, and maybe keep it to a smaller number, this way, I'm just throwing that out there, this way you don't have to worry about quorums and all that kind of stuff, so I don't know, you guys have been around, any thoughts?
you'll still have to worry about quorums.
Right, but if you get a 3-member board,
Yeah.
then it's a lot easier to get 2 people to show up than it is to get 8 people to show up, and you get a 12, right?
Well, I'm not the chairman.
All right, Kevin?
So, Jimmy, I don't know if it's 2 different conversations, keeping a Lake Street committee in place in town, but then you went off and you started talking about grant sharing and being involved with multiple communities. So I don't know how that would work, but, and it's probably a legal question, but if you formed a committee with multiple towns, and you say you have 4 towns and you only have 3 people from each community, right? I don't think you would have to post and have that as a legal committee, because it's not a town's committee anymore, it's a regional committee.
You still have to abide by the open meeting law.
Yeah, I think that's more like a working group, what you're talking about,
Yeah.
it's less of a committee, but just more of a bunch of towns applying for a grant at the same time.
Okay,
I think
so
you're
when-
working through Serped, right? So it's
Yeah,
kinda
so
like-
we have right now, like Lakeville and Freetown have a committee already. So they actually went and bought a boat, and they have no one to run it or anything else, but they went and bought a boat, so they have their own committee. And I think that it's gonna be, everyone's gonna have a committee that we all get together and say, okay, let's get together, write these grants up as a group, even though it's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4 committees, whatever it's gonna be, right? But if it's better structured, that we turn this into a regular voting committee that has a quorum and everything else, then we could actually post, correct me if I'm wrong, Pam, if we were gonna do a site visit where we say, okay, the whole committee's going to the lakes, could we advertise that and let the public come, and would that be legal?
Yes, you could.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I know the chief of police is right here, he's part of the committee. I mean, you got any thoughts? I mean,
I believe the committee now is a subcommittee of the original committee, because it was wasn't a spin-off, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr.
I
Warren?
think so, yeah.
Because originally it was a large committee, and we would run into problems that people would say they wanted to be part of it, but didn't want to show up to the meetings. So we formed a subcommittee to try to just dive into
Right.
going to the next step. So that's where it was.
Okay, well, why don't we do this? We can put some thought into it and then, you know, figure out a game plan.
Yeah,
And,
Mr. Chairman, if it's easier for you, just because I know you're coming close to the end of your tenure, I'll jump in on this, I have no
Okay.
problem. I'll meet up with Jimmy at some point and we'll go through, I'll probably have him give me the tour of the other communities too, and I can dive into what they're doing, so I can at least come together and we can put together a plan, and I'll just bring it to the board when we
So-
figure it out.
Just so you know, Ms. Hinckley, this is something we brought up at our meeting, right? And Chance from New Bedford is the one that says, hey, we got Lake Street, Lakeville and Freetown racing to do the same things we're trying to do.
Yep.
So instead of trying to compete with everybody, let's try to get together. We haven't discussed it with Lakeville yet or Freetown. It's something that we've come up with, and but I am going to try to get to the next meeting for Lakeville and Freetown. Hopefully Julia comes with me. She's right into it with us. So it's something that, you know, it could be down the line, don't get me wrong, it could be down the line, but right now, we're just trying to figure out how to get our committee stronger again and rebuild it, restructure,
Okay.
right? And like I said, if we have to do a full committee where we have a chairman, vice chairman, well, that's what we'll do, and we'll just have to post everything we do.
Got it, okay.
All right, thank you very much for
All
your
right,
time.
thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, yes, sir.
Mr. Souza, I'll give you a call at the end of this week, probably this weekend.
All right,
And we'll set up a time where we can dive in, really think about the size of the committee, the structure, and go from there, and then figure it out. And
if you don't mind, the other thing I'll do is I am gonna talk to Scott and have Scott pull up a committee meeting.
Yep.
So maybe you might even wanna come to it.
Sure.
And I think it's just something we should start talking to the members that are there now and feel them out.
Yep.
You know, it's like, and I just don't wanna say, okay, you're no longer in the committee.
Correct.
I think we should feel out, see who wants to be involved, not involved, so I will get a hold of Scott also.
Okay.
All right? Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
you.
I would also like to add that, and I don't know what the number was set for the, what the committee numbers were, but a number will need to be set to ensure a quorum, but I can
Yeah.
go through that.
I'll set it at 14 then.
Yeah. 14, okay.
How many's on it now?
I was gonna get that for town meeting.
4?
Yeah.
Take this up some other time.
Yeah,
We'll
we got
talk
some
about
other
that
stuff
and figure
going
things out. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you. All right.
Thanks, Julia. Thanks, Jim.
We've got Alex Knox, who's here. He's got a citizen petition that he'd like to advance to town meeting. Mr. Knox reached out, wanted to put him on the agenda, but, you know, there's a process that'll require, you know, some review from the town and all that stuff, but seeing that it is a citizen's petition and you went through that process, wanted to at least afford you the opportunity to talk about what you're up to.
Good afternoon, members of the board and the community. My name is Alexander Knox. I am the lead petitioner for 2 citizens' petitions that we are submitting as articles for the annual town meeting warrant tentatively this June. To be clear, these articles do not seek new permissions. Since October 2nd, 2024, a new state law has defaulted our municipal administrative buildings and their grounds to prohibited locations. Article 1, exemption of municipal administrative buildings, seeks to exercise our local authority to exempt these properties and restore the standards that existed in Acushnet for over 150 years. We are asking to maintain a tradition of safety that has never been a problem for our town. The current state law creates a serious public safety risk. It forces our most vetted, licensed residents to disarm themselves before even pulling into a town parking lot, let alone stepping foot on town grounds. This requirement mandates administrative handling, the repeated unholstering and clearing of firearms in the cramped quarters of a vehicle or in a public space. Statistically, this carries a much higher risk of negligent discharge or theft from a vehicle than simply leaving a tool safely secured in a holster. We are creating a public danger by forcing citizens to handle and clear firearms in their cars just to pull in and pay a tax bill or renew a dog license. Historically, prohibited locations are only constitutional when the government provides comprehensive security, such as armed guards and metal detectors, to compensate for the loss of the ability for self-defense. Without that security, these mandates simply create soft targets. We saw the tragic reality of this in 1993 when our community lost Nurse Carol Day at Ford Middle School despite existing prohibitions. These zones disarm only the law-abiding. They do nothing to stop a determined criminal. Furthermore, there are no analogous laws from our nation's founding that support these invisible zones. They are inconsistent with the Second Amendment's text, history, and tradition. I want to be clear that these articles do not affect schools or active polling places where state and federal prohibitions remain in place. Article 2, mandatory perimeter signage for non-exempt prohibited areas, is a fail-safe. If Article 1 passes and we exempt our buildings and grounds, Article 2 effectively costs the town nothing. However, if the town chooses not to pass the exemption, clear signage is a legal necessity. Under the new law, a violation requires that a person reasonably should have known they were in a prohibited zone. By mandating conspicuous reflective signage, we provide fair notice and protect the town and our police officers from legal ambiguity and qualified immunity risks. It gives our officers the clear discretion they need to avoid the accidental criminalization of our lawful residents. Finally, we must consider our local authority. At a time when the state is actively suing towns to strip away local control, it is vital that Acushnet exercises the local authority we do have. The state explicitly gave us this local option in Chapter 135. If we don't use it, we are surrendering our local voice to a one-size-fits-all mandate from Boston that doesn't fit Acushnet. These articles work in tandem. Article 1 restores our tradition by opting out of the new state default, and Article 2 manages the remaining risk. I respectfully request that the board insert these articles into the warrant for the annual town meeting exactly as submitted. Let the voters of Acushnet decide whether to protect our constitutional rights on town property from these state-level mandates. Thank you.
Well, thank you. First of all, very impressive the amount of work that you put into this. All the information that you provided was really good, really helpful. I think the board, I don't know how the board feels, but when we get these, we usually ask stakeholders to comment, and there's the bylaw review committee, and there's a process that the board will have questions about, and public safety, so on and so forth. So, gentlemen, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Yes.
This question would be for the town clerk, just to confirm the amount of signatures required was met?
I have not seen the petition yet.
I
Okay.
have some petitions.
You have
for
a
us.
We'll have to
petition
get that to the town clerk.
Yep. I was just curious, just for the fact that I'm a big fan of the democratic process. You follow the procedures and process, and ultimately, this is the type of decision that, like the chairman mentioned, we like to give to the stakeholders of the town. Anybody that happens to be in an administrative building should at least see this beforehand anyway, and I'd always like to send stuff to town council regardless, especially when we're putting in possibly putting an exemption at a current state law. But once again, you follow a public process, and I'm a huge fan of town meeting public process, so
Yeah, so I guess, you can give all your signatures, give that to the town clerk. Once that's certified, it'll make its way back to the board, and when the board reviews articles, then, they'll, I'm sure we'll
Mr. Chairman,
yeah.
can I call you Alex?
Yep.
So Alex, thank you for getting this signed through a petition. Do you have, Pam, is it 100 for,
For an annual town, it's only 10.
what was the deal with 100 and 200?
Special
The
town
100 is
meeting.
special.
What is it?
100 is a special if the special has already been called. If not, it's 200 to call a special. one.
Okay, so the 200 falls for a special, but a calling of a special just for a
It's
petition.
200.
So it's 100, special, 10. You have more than 10?
Got more than 10.
got at
Good
least
job.
20?
So I want to thank you for standing up for the Second Amendment. I'm a huge Second Amendment advocate. I've been around firearms since about the age of 5. My father was president of New Bedford Rod and Gun Club. We actually built that log cabin that exists today with our bare hands. So, and my mother was an expert markswoman. She was better than all 4 of the men that were in that household. So kudos to the women out there that are good with firearms. My mother was excellent with firearm as well, and excellent markswoman.
And the safety.
So, and I think you did, I think it would be, we would be doing ourselves a disservice to the Second Amendment if we didn't post this. I mean, I don't know if you can do it, if you're on All Things Acushnet, so people can get an idea once they watch this. Some people might be losing their minds. I think it's important that you did a very good job of explaining, you know, the ups and downs and how we got here. I couldn't agree more with it, to be honest with you. So, as long as you have certified signatures, it's via a petition, it has to go on town meeting.
All right,
So,
sounds good.
Good luck. Thank you.
thank you.
Good job. All right, so move that off to the town clerk. All right, next item on the agenda is to appoint a temporary registrar of voters, Mr. Paul O. Gonsalves. Is that, I don't know if today's St. Patrick's Day, is that why it's O. Gonsalves? Or but anyway, with all due respect to Mr. Gonsalves, thank you for putting your name forward as a motion to appoint Mr. Gonsalves.
I just have a question. I did just right here. Is this at the request of the town clerk?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Very good. All right, Pam, don't go too far. We received a communication, the board did, I think you were on it as well, from the superintendent and the school, on behalf of the school committee regarding town elections and using the school, you know, for that and the coordination of that. I don't, you know, I suggested to Superintendent Bailey and that, you know, you ultimately preside over the elections and you have a better insight of that. And, you know, while I appreciated her reaching out to the board, you know, it's ultimately your show. But I do think at some point, you know, as a courtesy, at least just have a conversation. You know, maybe there's a working group to examine it and look at it. I know you've looked at this a bunch of times, but anyway, wanted to at least raise that, and I wanted to do my job of advancing the issue. I don't have any skin in the game either way, so.
Okay. I do know that we have tried multiple locations, and one of the things we do need to keep in mind is we now have more than 1,000 registered voters, more than we started, you know, 10, 15 years ago. So it is growing. Each precinct has a maximum requirement of 4,000 residents for the census. Now, although that does not include children, it doesn't include non-voters, that's still a large number of people that are eligible to walk through a polling location to vote. We've tried the senior center, and I think you can concur, Chief, that we've had numerous accidents there, so it is definitely a traffic concern. We used to use the community center, which that was a great setup. It was a very large open space. It was very easy. But that went away. We tried to do the 2016 presidential election in the new community center at the library. And although we made it work, it was not ADA compliant. And that's an issue. The only place that is suitable is the schools.
So we've been monkeying around with the election dates, right? And so I think by charter, it was supposed to be the first Monday in April,
Yeah.
right? That was traditionally. So maybe just as something to think about, if, you know, the town is committed to April, maybe it's during April vacation week, right? When the school is vacated. Because I think one of what Paul is concerned is that with snow days and people just don't feel comfortable having the school open while school is going on.
Right.
So just maybe that's something to think about where it's, school vacation week. I think this year the election is on April 28th.
Yeah.
School vacation is the week before that, so, you're in that range. So maybe
We did
that's-
discuss that the last time around, and the reason that wasn't chosen is because there were too many families on vacation. And that was the issue. That's why we opted for the fourth Tuesday.
Got it. Yeah, fair enough.
I don't have a preference for it to be in the month of April. The reason that it was changed to begin with is it coincides with our dog licensing deadline of March 31st.
Yeah.
Now that you've thrown in the vote by mail for early voting, it's just a nightmare. And we all know that the integrity of our elections is extremely important.
Right.
So we want that dedicated time to focus just on the elections.
Yeah.
So I'm open to other days. The Tuesday, we opted for the Tuesday, so we would be consistent with all of the state and federal elections.
Exactly.
All right, well, I guess maybe a working group, again, I hate to have all these committees, but, but I do think.
You still have to think about November elections for state and federal, right?
Right.
September and November.
Yeah, the primaries.
And it was not clear in the communication if the discussion was on all of those.
I think it's pretty much, yeah.
It should be on all of them. I mean, you can't just isolate the town's elections, go,
Right.
that one's the only
And
one
that's, to be
problem.
honest with you, that's what I was thinking of, because
Exactly.
that one's always every
But-
year, but if you got stuff every 2 years and every
But
4
the
years.
crowds are the
Yeah.
presidential November elections.
Right.
and-
Primaries.
Or maybe, Pam, I don't know if there's a way to come up with a calendar that looks multiple years out, and then they could maybe schedule their professional days or do something like along those lines. I don't know, but I think it's bringing the school department into this conversation, I think is
Absolutely.
really important. I don't know that we can
Yeah.
solve it.
And it's
but-
4 dates on presidential
Right.
election years.
Right.
Presidential primary, town election, state primary, and then the November election.
Right.
So the issue really is not the biannual November election and the town election, because those are pretty much set in
Right.
stone. The issues come up with the September primary. And the state is working, the town clerks association has been fighting to get a specific date in the month of September. But you run into the issues with the Labor Day holiday. So it kind of bounces around. This year, it's going to be September 1st. But they are fighting to be able to have a definitive
Right.
date, because this is not, our town is not the only one that's struggling with this. It is frustrating. Typically, we don't have the number of snow days that the students had this year and the teachers had this year. We can't predict that. But yes, I'm willing to absolutely, have conversations and, yeah.
Yeah, I would just, I don't know, again.
Honestly, I don't know if this, in my opinion, I view it more of a safety thing,
It's,
right? I think that's the troubling only factor that plays a role for myself. It's not about anything else other than the safety factor, right?
Right.
Too many people, when you have kids in school, you have a lot of vehicles from teachers and staff and things of the like, and you have all these people pulling in, you have unknown faces that on a normal business day for the school faculty, they pretty much know who belongs and who doesn't belong, right? On election days, you have people pulling in, it's just, I hate to call it, it could be a soft target, right? So,
Right.
I think that's what the school's looking at it. I
Oh,
mean, I don't really know if
absolutely.
it's anything else. I don't think they have any other problems, and the Board of Selectmen do control town buildings. So ultimately, it's really our say, even though it's the election's being held by the town clerk, right? But I think we do have to have, a conversation with them. I just don't know if there's a simple solution to it. We can't move them, as you alluded to. I agree 100% with that statement. And trying to do You know, Mr. Wona brought up the point of faculty day and things of the like, but then we just talked about, and I agree with that, and we've done that in the past, but September primary elections, the kids only go back to school nowadays, they're going back late August, they're in school for a week and you're gonna, oh, we have a day off.
Right.
So it's kind of one of those things where you just,
Right.
it's tricky.
Would it make sense to have, obviously, the town clerk, somebody from the Board of Selectmen, in the school department, you know, Paula and chairman of the school committee, just get together and
Yeah.
come up with a game plan and figure it out from there, so, I don't know, gentlemen?
Make a motion to appoint Mr. Hinckley to that.
That's fine.
All right, this is a motion, second. I'll second that from Mr. Hinckley to represent the board, and then you can get with Pam.
Sorry, Bob.
That's all right.
Got a lot of things happening in the near future.
There are worse things than hanging
Yeah.
out with the town.
It's a one day, it's a one day.
I'm gonna go poke a hole in his new hot water tank.
Okay.
All right, so yeah, if you could do that, and you guys get together, you know, I don't think it has to be solved this week, but, you know, when you have time
Yeah.
to get into it and have a conversation and come up with a game plan that works for everybody, that'd be great.
Yep.
See
Sounds-
if there's a solution to the problem. I'm not so sure that that's gonna come about, but maybe we can end up at some happy medium for everybody.
Well, I can say since I've been doing this, and it's been at the schools, we had one day, and I accept full responsibility, I gave the wrong date. That, how it happened, I don't know, but I accept full responsibility. And then the November 18th, that was a special election, I had no control
Yeah.
over that.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you know, we're usually able to make it work with those two exceptions. And honestly, it would have worked the first time had I not made the mistake.
It happens.
So,
Okay, all good.
Mr. Chairman, at
Yeah.
that point, I think trying to do anything drastic before this upcoming election is impossible. So I don't think
Yeah.
we're at, like, I don't think we need to be
I-
full steam ahead on this conversation,
No.
but
Right.
I'm more than happy to jump in with you, open the dialogue. I think it goes back to, I remember voting, depending on your precinct, you went to a different building.
right,
And it was a lot easier when, you know, the town could do that. And I just think, to second what Mr. Gasper said about safety, but on the other side of things, cars pulling out of COA all day, it can get pretty messy, especially, well, community center now, library,
yeah.
people stopping, people blocking traffic, it can get a little hectic, so we really have to focus on that aspect of it as well.
Right.
I don't know if there's a lot we can do, but we'll have the conversation either way.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I'm open to all alternatives. We did try the fire department one year. One thing that we have to keep in mind is that every time we change a polling location, it's additional cost for notifying all of those voters in
Right.
that precinct.
It would also be an additional cost, correct me if I'm wrong, if you had multiple like we used to do, because you'd have increased police details, plus
Correct.
you'd have to increase the bodies actually working at each
Exactly.
Correct.
precinct desk.
Right, right. And now I'm able to shift people around. It is a huge cost savings, but I am all about the safety. I mean, I had kids that went through that school. I went through that school. You know, my nephews were both at the middle school when, you know, Alex had mentioned about Mrs. Day. So, you know, that is real for me. But I also know that, you know, we've got the taxpayers to answer to.
Sounds good. Great, thank you.
So, okay, thank you.
I do.
Back to
Chairman,
work.
just a point of order. You got a motion, a second, but no vote.
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All right, it feels awkward when we're talking to the town clerk and not officially voting.
There you go.
Can we take up number 8 while she's here?
Yeah, oh, Pam.
Oh,
One
Mr.
other
Chairman,
thing,
I'll make
yeah.
a motion to pass over number 7, new business.
Yep, all right.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Town meeting, we were looking at June
Yes.
15th,
works for me.
okay?
Yeah.
Gentlemen?
I wrote down every Monday. The 8th, the 15th, 22nd, and 29th,
So if we
so
go by last year's, which was the 16th, this year would be the 15th.
I
We got time to-
communicated with the schools, the 15th is an open date.
beautiful.
All right, so motion
The
to.
later we go, then we don't have to push it any later, because we're
Yeah,
too
check.
close to the June 30th
That's right.
deadline.
All right, so is there a
So-
motion to set town meeting at June 15th?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Carries, very good. All right, next item comes from our COA director. We've got some surplus stuff, a van, some maintenance pickup, and
The
some flat
vans are the
files.
COA.
Yep, okay.
So, Mr. Chairman,
And this was just brought up. There is a procedure to go through it, and we have to adhere to the procedure. The flat files, I believe, are from Parting Way, and
Oh, okay.
and the maintenance pickup, I think you know about.
we don't even have that as a picture in our book.
Right.
I have 2 buses from Council on Aging, some flat files that you talked about. So, Mr. Chairman, I can make this real easy.
Yep.
What we have is a form that's been always used in the past. It's called a Declaration of Surplus Property. I have it right here in my hand. The department head, whoever files for something, they can fill that form out, pick it up in our office with Margaret, our administrative assistant, and they can fill that document out and submit it to the Board of Selectmen to be put on an agenda, and we will see if it's accurate, declaring things as junk, like the 2 vans at the Council on Aging. We have plants growing through them, so they're scrap. But the forms need to be filled out, then we can go through the proper protocol to have Mr. Menard, if we're gonna get rid of vehicles. Mr. Menard's done it with some of his surplus. We just went through this practice maybe 6 or 9 months ago with Mr. Menard and some stuff down at the town barn, and he hauls it, puts it on the flatbed, and either hauls it to Mid-City Scrap or to Middleborough Recycling and something like that, right, Dan?
Correct. Yep.
So he's more than willing to collaborate with any department head once we declare whatever we declare, and if it's junk, it's junk. I mean, those flat files might be good for sale for something, I don't know. But we'll see what people think, and maybe we can put that up on Minutely Bid, the flat files, and see if there's anybody out interested in, giving us $100,000 for something that's worth $5, but who knows?
They can grab the library at the same time.
There you go.
All right, cool. Sounds like a plan. All right, next item under old business, we have Pauline Texera here to talk about Perry Hill Church, is that right? Come on down.
National site designation.
Yes, I'm very, very happy. I also got a letter in the mail today saying it's going to the national, to get on the National Register.
Okay.
So once that's approved, we'll be on the Mass State, and then we'll be on the national.
Great.
That's good news.
Is that, didn't we do this with a property in the past, Pauline, with you? It's called the National Historical Register or something like that?
We've done it twice, I believe, because I got the River's End on the National Historic Register, the district, and then the museum.
Museum.
The museum, yeah.
So that's what that is, it's the National Historic
Yeah.
Register, right?
It should make it a little easier for us to get, from the state, get some money from the state in order to do repairs.
Good.
We're missing out on one that they were talking about that's ending Friday.
Right.
So I don't know if there's any more. I've got to talk to Victoria on that. She's very
We
helpful.
should check also that, if I remember correctly, the Secretary of State runs a bunch of stuff, because we got, this was way back,
Mhm.
I think it was like 120 grand for the Parting Ways building
Mhm.
with Senator Montigny. It was like an emergency, they have like, they have a pool of money for stuff, and I know we're trying to finish some work over at the Parting Ways, but this could be helpful here, but anyway.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
just another
the
resource.
building's gonna need some work, for sure.
This is great. Is there anything, this is more FYI for us?
This is, I hope that everything goes forward and it'll be good. I've only worked on this building since 2010, so
Wow.
it's a long
Yeah,
time
well,
waiting
it's
for
it's a
this.
gem, so.
Mr.
Jim.
Yeah.
Pauline and her committee attended by Zoom,
Yes.
the meeting where the state voted
Mhm.
recently, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, yeah, it was last week. We all watched it on the TV. It was
Nice.
really great.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
They're all for it.
So normally, we don't always have the time and the opportunity to say thank you to certain people in this community, but I'd like to take the time right now to say thank you to you, Ms. Texera, for everything that you have done for decades in this town, especially with Historical Society. So from my mouth to your ears, thank you very much for everything you've done for our community.
You're welcome.
outstanding.
Thank
Agree
you.
more.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Great job.
Thanks, Pauline.
All right, next item is under old business. The RFPs for trash hauling and disposal. We've finally got those documents prepared. Well, gentlemen, you had a chance to
Mr.
review.
Chairman.
Yeah,
So I looked at the documents, I sat with Mr. Menard over the documents, then when I noticed the ones that we have in our book were missing pages. So I sat with Mr. Menard to confirm what we have is the documents that Mr. Menard's given us in early January, Mr. Menard, compared to what we have in our books is they're the same word for word pretty much, but they're missing pages in both documents. So the ones that we have in our book are NG, and the ones that Mr. Menard gave us in January are what we used here, but it's missing a ton of information with the ones that we have in our book here. So what I'm gonna do is, outside of changing some dates that we discussed back in November with Mr. Menard, 4 months, 5 months later, we're using the same documents that Mr. Menard gave to the board in January. I will make a motion to use the documents that Mr. Menard has presented for trash hauling and trash disposal and recycling, changing the dates that are in there. I've highlighted everything inside the documents that are missing, the pages that are missing, so I can sit down with Mr. Kelly and review all of this together. And Jamie Lynn,
Yeah,
and sit down and we'll go over everything before this goes out. The problem is we've waited too long and time is of the essence for budgets. So there are some dates in here. I'd have to sit down tomorrow. I don't know if Jamie Lynn will be back in the afternoon or
afternoon.
we have some constrictions for time frames for posting things. I don't know if it's, I think it's the Central Register, that's the tickler, that's like a Thursday deadline. So if we can get it done tomorrow afternoon, that would be great. I could do this pretty quickly with Mr. Kelly and Jamie Lynn. And review this, change the dates, but I would ask the board on the disposal one that needs to go out first to get a deadline of April 3rd so we can get those bids open. It's only 2 weeks, but it's only 2 people that are qualified to bid on it.
sure.
So if we can just use that April 3rd deadline for bids to be received, we can open them on April 3rd. We can then shoot out the following week for combis and the Central Register for hauling. We need to know where we're going with the disposal before we can bid out hauling. The haulers need to know where they're bringing the garbage, right? We've talked about this a number of times. So we need to get disposal out first. I'm gonna do my best. Hopefully I can get Jamie Lynn in here tomorrow before closing, and we can review the document. We can get that on Central Register and combis by Thursday morning and get the bids back by April 3rd for disposal. We gotta change some dates as well.
So,
Mr. Chairman, if I may, just to bring this to the attention, I'm sure you guys know about it anyway, but I was diving through this and I'm okay with Mr. Gasper going through changing dates and banging this out tomorrow. But I would request that the Acushnet Golf Course with the 10-yard and the 8-yard listed in the old be broken out with a separate line item.
So the golf's packaged in this bid.
And the
Is there a
paperwork-
reason we did that, Dan? The sun's glaring off that door, so I'm having a... Can you go to the podium? Please? Thank you. Is there a reason it used to be in the budget, trash disposal, I know that for a fact.
Correct. So when this was back in Howland days, we've always had them pick that up over there at the golf course. So I know they're an enterprise fund or whatever, but I don't know if they got reimbursed or did anything like that in the background, but no, this was always from even back in the day. I remember even when Holland was here, they used to pick them up, so we just left it in there as one of the
Yeah.
places they pick
And I mean,
up.
ultimately, I have zero issue with them picking it up.
Right.
I would just like to see it broken down and then fall back into that bucket of indirect costs, so it is a true enterprise fund, because as of right now, this would set up it could set up a questionable entity with an enterprise fund, having it lumped in with everything else under municipal buildings. I think having the convenience have them picking it up is great. If they could just break it down with a separate line item just for those 2 dumpsters, I'm sure they could do that.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that'd be an issue at all.
We'd have to get a rough idea when we did that, right?
I'd have to talk to Steve and see what they actually do, how many dumpsters they go through, roughly.
I mean, according to what they currently
What do they have,
have,
once a week or something?
once per week, they have a
Yeah.
10-yard and an 8-yard,
Yeah,
and then it will not require pickup in January and February. So there's kind of weird stipulations involved with it. It's just as long as we
Well,
can
you
keep
used to do the
track.
calculation on 10 months instead of 12 months, right?
Yeah, a
Excluded.
price for,
Yeah.
a monthly price or.
I know
Can we keep the bid spec like the way it's been set up and do what Mr. Hinckley's talking about? We just get a number on what we calculate as tonnage, because everything's based on tonnage with garbage, and say if they get rid of 50 tons a year, or whatever the rate is, we back charge, the town can back charge enterprise for that?
We wouldn't put the back charge language in there, but
Yeah.
you
No,
could
no, no.
ask them to break
We
it.
do that with the budget, Jamie.
Yeah.
We leave the bid specs so we ain't recreating a wheel because we're way behind the curve.
Yeah.
And come to find out, we're back to dealing with the same documents that we were given back in January. So we prolong this for no reason, is what I'm getting to. This needs to get out so we can give FinCom and ourselves an accurate budget. We have a massive deficit and we have no idea what trash is gonna be. That's extremely dangerous in my opinion. This needs to get done and done ASAP.
so what he was getting at, that's more for the collection, that's for the pickup versus the disposal. The disposal is the tonnage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't think that's gonna change in that bid cap, but it's.
We just
it's
want it
gonna
broken
change-
out.
It's gonna
Yeah,
change in the
While we're at
collection,
it,
if that's.
it would be
So
good
Holland.
to know what
Yeah.
the school costs.
I just brought it up simply because I didn't know if it had to be in the bid spec, if it can be done retroactively after the fact, like just through the accounting office and budget. I'm good with it, as long as it's, right now, I don't wanna see a 0 line item. And I agree, I think the schools, the golf course, I mean, the school's not really an enterprise fund, so it's not really.
But it's a separate budget
Correct,
from,
correct,
Yeah.
understood.
But in the bid specs, it does say all municipal buildings. I
Yeah.
did see
So the
that.
same thing, the schools are in there as well, so
Yeah.
again, they're not, it's kinda.
Yeah, if it doesn't mess up,
Integrated
if
with
it
that.
doesn't mess up the bid spec and you can leave it the way it is
So
now,
that's
just
school,
for the
that
bid
ain't in the
spec.
school's budget either, that's
Right,
kinda in the.
right, all we wanna know is
general
what it
fund.
costs
Yeah,
to do
I
this.
can get that
Right.
for you guys, and
So
we can work that
we're gonna
out.
keep
I would leave it alone,
Yeah,
I would.
keep this the way it is and we'll just
We're gonna back charge
back charge them.
golf,
Yep,
and we'll figure out if we're gonna do anything with school, but we're gonna figure out what the tonnage is for golf. And
Correct.
there used to be a line item, and I know I have a budget for golf that has a line item for trash disposal.
It's
Yeah.
still in there, it's just,
Zero.
No, I know what the number used to be.
yeah,
I have that budget,
okay,
guaranteed.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So what was your motion, Mr. Gasper? Move forward with,
My motion, well, it would be just to get this out and use the April 3rd for disposal. I'm just asking the board, 2 weeks period. It's only 2 people.
Yes, yes.
So there's no reason why Dan can just, so this is only good business practice, right? Because trash is not part of procurement. I talked about this the last time. We technically don't have to go off for procurement, but it's good business practice and keeps everybody honest. So we're gonna do this practice. I had a conversation with Mr. Menard today and I said, can I do a shorter time frame for disposal so we can get the hauling out fast? So we can get real numbers for budgetary reasons. And he said, yeah. I said, can you do me a favor? Can you call CMAS and let them know we're posting on Combis and Central Register? Call Waste Management, they have the new facility in Marion or Mattapoisett, wherever it is, for disposal. Let them know the same thing, get on it and roll. Get those bids in, and by April 3rd, we can open them up and say, have a nice day. We know what that is, and we know where we're going now based on whoever wins the award. And now in the hauling one, we're gonna tell them if it changes from CMAS to the other facility owned by Waste Management, we're gonna say, now we're going to this address, Waste Management facility located at blah, 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 blah. That's where you're hauling the crap to.
just let me know tomorrow, as long as it's gonna go through and
I'll
you
second
get it
the
done by
motion.
Thursday.
Thank you.
There's a motion,
I'll
there's a
work
second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, good stuff. Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Dan.
All right, next item under old business, we've got just some staffing issues that I think just need some visibility. Laurie Walsh was serving as our ZBA clerk. She no longer, she submitted a letter to the board saying that she no longer wants to do that position. So I don't know how the board wants to go forward with that. Do we want to post for that, or I just, want to make sure that we're not, Laurie jumped in there.
Yep.
Wasn't part of her original job description, I guess. She jumped in there to do that, but there's some extenuating circumstances, unfortunately, that led her to that decision. So how do we want to handle this, if at all?
Mr. Chairman, I had a discussion with the town clerk whose office is filling in on some of that work
Yeah.
too. And we just had a discussion on potential hours and whether it was busy monthly, busy weekly, et cetera. And on the caseload right now, it looks like it would be a weekly position, 2 to 3 hours a week.
Okay.
And so that was refining it.
Okay, so what?
And we could save a little bit of time through the assessor's office as far as notifying abutters. We've had a discussion as far as labels versus lists and envelopes and stuff like that, so. It's a question of whether we advertise for a 2 to 3 hour position.
And that's the thing, that's the problem we've had, right?
Yeah.
We've got all these little positions. It would make sense if there's somebody in the Parting Ways building who could take this on. I know at one point I had floated the idea to the town clerk. All this stuff ends up in the town clerk's office anyway, for filings and all this jazz. And it's not like, there's literally, 50 feet in between offices? Like, so it's, it's something that can be handled. We just gotta figure out where best to house it. I don't know.
Yeah. Right now, the town clerk's office has some unfilled positions too, and I wouldn't want to put it on anybody that's in that office right now, because it's really Eric that's in there,
Right.
and he's got a lot of responsibilities, and Nancy comes in part-time, so I
Could
mean,
this be folded into one of those positions that's unfilled, that they're trying to fill?
I think it's a possibility. I would have to sit down with Pam and go over that.
Right.
I mean, we sat down the other day and said, she had 2 part-time positions technically.
So we're going to potentially a full-time position.
Yeah, so it would be a matter of figuring out if A, anybody's applied for that job first, and B, if we gotta revert back to 2 part-time positions or whatever it is. It's just an awkward time frame. It was always filled by people like Kara did it for years while she was in college. Like, she'd just pick up hours. Paul was retired, It's one of those positions that you're not gonna get a lot of bites on if you advertise it for 3 hours a week plus.
It's gotta be folded into
They meet
some-
once a month,
Yeah.
so whatever the 3 hours a week, wherever that number came from, I don't know, but whatever.
It's the doing all of the advertising, the notice to the abutters,
Yeah.
and all of that stuff prior to.
It's gotta be folded into somebody who's here full-time. It's gotta be folded into that job description, whoever that person is. Whether it's out of the town clerk's office. I thought we had a good solution there. Unfortunately,
Problem is, if it's folded into any clerical positions right now, that would go back into negotiations with the union personnel,
fine,
so.
that's fine.
The,
you know?
the timeframe on
Yeah,
that
yeah.
isn't really good
Right.
right now,
So meanwhile,
Pam's interviewing for her position now.
right?
Yeah. I guess what I can do is I'm talking to Pam about something else, something else.
I was just gonna make that motion too. I was like, hey,
Easy,
Bob,
buddy.
you're already talking to Pam, so why don't you have another
I'll touch
conversation
base
with
with her
her?
and see if she's having any luck and see what her idea is
The reality of it is Mr. Hinckley makes the perfect fit anyway. He's the selectman that negotiated the ASME contract, so that's under his umbrella.
Sounds good. All right.
Sorry, Bob.
No worries.
Piece of cake for you.
Multiple umbrellas.
Piece of cake for Bob.
There you go.
All right.
All right.
Sun's always shining somewhere, right?
That's right.
Sunny and 75, isn't that the same in Acushnet?
All right, so again, we just put this in here. I think this is more of a budget discussion. DPW assistant, we get the business manager over there that's unfilled at some point. I think the board needs to sit down and look at the budget, look what Dan needs over there and what's getting done, what's not getting done. This is more of a bigger picture conversation.
I had a conversation with Mr. Menard because I found it pretty funny when I walked in there to talk to him about these documents, the trash documents, and he was sitting behind the desk playing clerical. And I said, you definitely don't look good behind that desk. You look way better when behind a machine. So I'm still in the mindset that position absolutely needs to be filled.
Yeah, I don't disagree. The problem is, I don't think we've got, we haven't had anybody, it's been posted, nobody's put their name in, right? It's more of a clerical position, correct?
That's a case of a number of positions, right?
Yeah. I don't know where all the workers went since COVID, but that's too long of a conversation for us to have tonight. We're doing our best to fill the position. We'll continue advertising the position. I'm gonna have more conversations with Dan about it because him and I have sat down for a number of hours and discussed a number of different issues with the department in the impractical way it's functioning right now, quite honestly. So we both came to a conclusion. Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't want to misspeak, but I believe the conclusion that we came to is that position needs to be filled, period.
Correct. Even with the water, currently, the water billing out of that position, it's still, and Bob, you've been in that office too, and what the problem is, like Ann's on the phone and there's people at the desk and she ain't able to do her work because she's, on the computer, on the phone, she's on the, going to the desk when people walk in, and so she's kind of falling behind all, that's why I'm kind of in there.
So we've got it posted as
all
a
the
business
rules.
manager with, expertise in billing and all that stuff, right? But is it the board's intention to have water billing continue to go where it's at now, and then we're just looking at a clerical person for this position? So maybe we're changing the job
we
description.
move it all based on, I don't want to get too involved
Yeah.
because there's unions involved and I don't want to talk too much on TV, but we all know the circumstances where we don't have a primary, we don't have a secondary, right? So the only way I believe that we can solve that problem is to go back to where we had things in one department where it's all under one umbrella and it's controllable by the department head. Right now, it's not being done that way, and it's too much of this. And quite honestly, the person that's stepped up and has done the job, kudos. I can't say enough good things about that. And the assistant town accountant, okay? But things just aren't working out. There's too many chiefs, not enough Indians. We need to figure things out. We got over 3,000 water users, over 1,000 sewer users. It's not a position to be playing or screw around with for 65 grand, whatever it is.
I don't disagree. The problem is there's nobody out there who's got the skill set or we haven't made it attractive enough, right?
There you go. So maybe we do. I don't know.
I think that's the crux of it, right? If we had 10 applicants, I think we could solve the problem, but nobody's applying for the job, so we can get it reposted again and somehow try to get, I don't know, just somebody from another community that you know of.
That's really, I've looked at some resumes. I do have to talk to Dan about things, but it's unfortunate, but it's what they do to us and what we've done. We got the police chief here, it's called poaching, right? That's what they do to us. We've been poached, and nobody can fault us for going and talking and trying to poach from another community and saying, look, the grass is greener on this side of the fence, come join us, right?
Right.
And we can see how it works out, but again, it's ongoing conversations. I've had some great conversations with Mr. Menard in the last few weeks. I got a better understanding of the office with him and how things aren't working out, and I think we gotta have that dialogue, maybe an executive session coming down the road if we do get a good resume, but that's where I'm at with that.
Sounds good. All right, thank you. All right, Dan, thank you. Hopefully, we're done the snow. You know,
The wind last night was
but
killing me. I'm like, oh no, now we're gonna have trees?
Oh, don't you start. April 1 snowstorm,
yeah, I
remember?
remember that. Yeah. That was actually the
Johnson
last time
Johnson.
I left. It was April 1st. I remember that. But while we got you here again, Dan, thank you. You know, you and your team, phenomenal work working with the chiefs and the public safety folks. But you guys were the backbone of that whole operation. So thank you for doing that.
That was a tough storm, man. I was out there talking to Dan and you know, even on Wednesday when we were able to get on the roads and pass, and I was out there with Dan and some of the snowplow contractors, they were getting chased down by residents and flagging me down. Can you go to this house and talk to that resident? I'm like, not again. But it was.
That was definitely a difficult one. You know, we had a lot of snow in one night, and
The winds and.
yeah, it was actually really slippery too. Like when you plowed it, it's just like you couldn't even walk when you got out of a machine or a truck. You fall right over.
You know it's bad when you get stuck in a loader.
And I got stuck. Yeah. So again, I've been doing this for 41 years or better, and that was one of my. Almost wanted to retire on that.
I'm like, oh no, not the loader.
Almost wanted to retire. But, yeah, and we got through it. But yeah, the guys did a heck of a job.
I think you guys did a heck of a job driving around all the other communities. Once we could all finally leave our houses, you know, you could see the clear line on Peckham Road where New Bedford started. It was like a wall of snow with a nice clean down the pavement. You guys did a fantastic job, and I'll say this for the third meeting in a row. And outstanding job handling everything with patience and kindness.
You know, the city, we pick on them, but the city's it's a city, right? And they have narrow roads, they have mad road miles in the city, housing, people parking on, you know, with apartment buildings and parking on streetways, and people with a snow ban not moving their cars. I mean, that is not an easy job, and I'm sure the city has faced what we've faced is the crisis of no snowplow contractors, right? They only have so many workers out there as well. I remember the days that they used to have plows on garbage trucks in the city. So, I mean, they're dealt the same crappy hand that we're dealt with. I mean, Dan knows we were, 18 this year, contractors.
Yeah.
You know, we normally run 30 plus our crew.
Yeah, 30 something.
So that, you know, you don't think 10 matter, but what do we have, 10 routes?
10 routes, yeah.
You split the town into 10 routes, right?
Correct, yeah.
So just that one minus driver in a route can really turn things around.
Yeah.
And with that storm going, for the longevity, talked about the longevity of the storm, there's no way you're keeping up. You're better off just staying home, wait for things to calm down, and then go out and do it. But when you're getting delivered 3 feet of snow, you're screwed.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Thank you,
Gentlemen, anything, you've got an executive session to go into to speak with the chief about some staffing issues that potentially impact union collective bargaining stuff. And so, but before that, any announcements that we want to make?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I just want to say a very happy belated birthday by one day to my mother. Turned 67 yesterday. Happy birthday, Mom.
Happy birthday, Mom.
Very nice, very nice. You're like, what was the guy, the weather guy, Willard Scott, was that his name?
Yeah.
You're like doing the birthdays and all that stuff. Well, that's good, to the Hinkley's, happy birthday. Just
How
want
about me? How about me?
What do you got, Kev?
Not my birthday.
Okay, what do you got?
Harlem Globetrotters is celebrating 100 years this year.
There's
Nice.
the Willard Scott right there.
We all, I'm sure we all know Harlem Globetrotters. I still love watching the Harlem Globetrotters. They're probably one of the best entertainment shows you can go to and watch. I was able to attend one in my younger lifehood, so if they ever come to the nearest area, I mean, make sure you buy tickets, because boy, what a show they put on.
Nice.
100 years.
Very nice, that was a good one. I don't have any announcements other than, I mentioned this before, we've got our town administrator coming in. I think his first day is, it's gonna come in for March 31st for the next meeting. I've essentially got 2 meetings left, and Mr. Gasper, if you are willing to do it, I think it would be good from a continuity standpoint and onboarding standpoint, that I transition the reorg and the chairmanship to you, so you can have an opportunity to work with the new town administrator, get in and jump in there, you know?
Sounds good.
So we can execute that at the next meeting. I just think it just makes more sense to do that. And, you know, there are a few things that I've been working on, and I'd like to hand those off, you know, Lake Street, and, you know, there's a few other odds and ends. But again, you know, my goal is to ensure a smooth transition. As much as I enjoy being the chairman, I don't need to hold on to it that long or that much, and I think it's just best to turn it over. So thank you for your willingness to do that.
No problem, Mr.
And
Chairman.
with that said, got an executive session. Motion for convening executive session, Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Number 3, police staffing levels, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body. The chair so declares. The board will not return to public session at the conclusion of executive session. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, Mr. Gasper?
Yes.
Roll call vote, Mr. Hinckley?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. We're now in executive session. Thank you.